Hey, what's up, lightboltjoe here. Today we are going to discuss Teen Wolf Season 6, Part 2. This is the final 10 episodes in the Teen Wolf series by MTV. Came out July 30th, 2017. 10 episodes long. So much happens in this season. We don't have Styles nor Derek in a lot of this season. And it's kind of weird, to be honest, until like the very end when like all of the sarcastic dynamic comes back together and you're like, oh, this is old Teen Wolf, right? But like, it's a wrap-up season, so things are happening because of things that have happened, but now it's a matter of what happens next. That's the best way to explain it. So we have new characters who are old characters, right? They've been a part of Beacon Hills, but this is the first time we're seeing them. So you have this kid, Aaron, you have Gabe, you have Nolan, you have this girl, Quinn, who happens to be, I forget her name, the biology teacher's daughter, who happens to be a werewolf as well. So Quinn and Aaron are inhabited by these two parts of the Inukate. So the Inukate is a two-faced fear creature, fearmonger, and it was released from the hunt. It was released from the way station from the hunt after, the Ghost Riders went away. But, after that finale, that's what happened. When everybody got out of the hunt, the Inukate happened to escape as well. So because the Inukate escaped, inhabited two teenagers, was killing along the way, but it was provoking fear. It was causing all this fear, not just in the supernatural, but in the mortal realm as well. Mortal human, regular humans as well. So Gerard is taking advantage of the fear building, and he's recruiting these average people who are afraid of the supernatural, to expose the supernatural, to arm them, to create a mass genocide, a culling of the supernatural. Brett and Laurie are killed. That was a hard scene to watch. Deucalion is killed at some various point. A lot of death in this season, but it's wrap up because it brings it back to not the first season. It brings it back to the second season of Gerard and Hunters trying to kill Supernatural. So now we have at the finale Gerard and Hunters trying to kill Supernatural. Joe Wagner's character of Kate Argent is back, who then destroys Gerard at the end. Very nice to see her as the Were-Jaguar yet again. But Gerard's protege, if you will, Monroe, is now leading a new charge of international hunters, trying to kill out different supernatural creatures on a global basis from the different nematons and the different, continents, not just the Beacon Hills nematon, but the nematons all over the place. So we have the Werewolves of London. That's what, episode 6 or something like that, 6 or 7. Jackson and Ethan are together. They're dating. They're trying to protect London. We're in Brazil for a brief moment in time, just to get a recap of Derek traveling from Mexico down into Brazil after learning about a culling, about a genocide of a pack of 12. He's then listed as an FBI most wanted. Styles is in a intern pre-FBI program where his first mission is to join a team of capturing Derek Hale, who was last seen in North Carolina. So that's going on behind the scenes. Season 5 and 6 of Derek not being in it is him traveling down, from Mexico down into Brazil, figuring out what the hell's going on with all that. We know Cora was in South America, and that's where he left Cora after the fighting of Season 3. We know, well, it's not referenced, but we know that Daniel Sharman's character is of Isaac was last seen in Paris when Chris and him went to France. So there's still questions, but it's still a matter of that wrap up. Scott and Malia are now a thing. They are together. And they've had to learn how to fight with their eyes closed from Deucalion. Deucalion had to teach them how to fight with their eyes closed. Because if you look into the eyes of this Inukate, you turn into stone. Very much like a Medusa effect. But it was a matter of using the different senses to figure out how to face the fear. Face your fear to conquer, to then move on. So they figured out that if he wants to become the shapeshifter, if Quinn was shapeshifter and Aaron was just human, combining together the new Inukate formed from the two different halves would be part shapeshifter, he would have to abide by those rules. So Mountain Ash would be a part of that rule. So Styles throws some Mountain Ash on him in the library of Beacon Hills where all the good fights happen, and he becomes stone and then is just gone, and then everybody de-stones themselves who are, solidified by this Inukate in the battles. But it's a matter of fighting the Inukate. It's also a matter of fighting your fear, second option. And then third option, not option, but third aspect is fighting off the hunters who are being recruited, regular citizens being recruited by Monroe, by Gerard, to face the evil that is supernatural. So it was nice seeing Scott's dad come back to help. It was nice seeing him, Melissa, Chris Argent, and Sheriff Stilinski, all come together to help fight, amongst the supernatural. Scott's dad, Raphael McCall, is now versed in the supernatural. So at the end, we have Chris and Scott picking up a new 16-year-old werewolf who was on the run from hunters, telling him, what life is, and if he wants to join the pack, he can join the pack, saying that, there's enemies who are now allies, referencing Peter Hale and Theo, who helped tremendously throughout the entirety of these 10 episodes. We're talking about loss, talking about Allison loss, talking about Deucalion loss, talking about loss in general. Having Jennifer Blake's character of the Rock come back very quickly as try to get Derek to open his eyes. Pretty cool seeing that. A lot of nice closure, a lot of nice wrap up, but it didn't have that Teen Wolf spark to it as previous seasons had, specifically because we missed that sarcastic element of Styles. Dylan O'Brien in it is a fantastic actor. He was filming a lot of the Maze Runner films for the entirety of season 6. That's why he was thrown in the way station for the first half of season 6. And then that's why he was in the pre-FBI program for majority of part 2 of season 6. He was filming the Maze Runner films. I can't remember what episode it was, but you'd only notice this if you're a Dylan O'Brien fan, B, a Teen Wolf fan, C, a Maze Runner fan. You would only know this for these reasons. He was in a horrible accident on set. I can't remember what film it was. It was either the second or the third Maze Runner film. Filming it. And he was filming them in between projects. He was doing Maze Runner and Teen Wolf at the same time, right? His schedule was booked. And they had to shut the production of Maze Runner down, whatever movie it was, 2 or 3, because he got into a bad accident. It was something with they're driving a car through the streets or something like that, and something happened, and he hit his head, but he also wound up smashing his hand. We thought he was bad. It was all over the place. So he had to wear this brace on his hand to hold these fingers in place. And it was just like that. So it was just this black thing. It's not a glove, because it's a glove's a whole hand, but it was kind of like a partial glove. When Scott gets to Styles, I want to say it's the last episode of part 1 of season 6, which we actually didn't talk about now that I think about it. But now that I saw everything in its entirety, all of it's coming back to me. You see it on his hand very briefly, and you're like, well, why is that there? Because he clearly didn't have it when he and Peter were trying to escape the way station. It's because he was in that accident. And it was only very quickly in a scene. You see it very quickly when he's pointing, but then the scene later, it's not on his hand. And knowing how films are made and how TV shows are made, just because a scene is back to back, within a matter of a minute, it could have been 2 months in between filming part A and part B of that 1 minute scene. So little movie magic, but I noticed it. So when you get a chance, you watch the end of season 6 part 1 and just look at his hand, because that glove is there very briefly. It's black very briefly. He goes like this, and you see it, but then when he goes to hug Scott, it's gone. So movie magic. So point being is that Dylan was not a part of season 6 for a lot of it because he was filming the Maze Runner films. I get it. Derek wasn't in a lot of 5 and 6 because he was filming vast other things. He's now Clark Kent in the Superman show on the CW. I get it, right? I get it. People do things. That's why Isaac wanted to leave. That's why Daniel Sharman wanted to leave. That's why Crystal Reed wanted to leave. They wanted to do things. I don't agree with them leaving their characters behind, but people have the right to want to do stuff. All right? That's how things work. You sign a contract, you do your thing, that's it. If you want to renew your contract, that's up to you. If you don't want to renew your contract, that's up to the writers to figure out how to get rid of your character. It's how films work. It's how TV shows work. I get it. But I miss those characters. Those were great characters, and the sarcastic aspect of Styles brings that Teen Wolf charm to it. This second part of season 6 was very dark. It was very heavy because it didn't have that sarcastic Styles charm to it. I still liked it. I didn't hate it, but it didn't have that charm to it. So I still like the wrap-up, especially because, Styles and Derek are going back and forth at the end, the final episode. Great. But I have the questions that I've been asking numerous times. And here's the wrap-up questions. After watching 9 total seasons, right? Season 1, Season 2, Season 3A, Season 3B, Season 4, Season 5A, Season 5B, well, Part 1, Part 2, Season 6, my fingers can't do this, Season 6, 1, Part 1, and there we go, okay. And then Season 6, Part 2. That's 9 total seasons, 100 episodes in total. 9 total seasons, 100 episodes in total. It might be marked Part A and Part B, Part 1, Part 2, whatever. But it's 9 total seasons. It's 100 episodes. After paying attention, watching it, here we go. What happened to Danny? Number one question. I will always ask this until the day I die. I don't care that Jeff Davis said in an interview he went to college, he graduated early. That's great. But put that on the screen. Don't tell me off camera. Tell us on the screen. If Danny graduated early, great. How did Jackson and Ethan ever meet then? Jackson went to London by the time Ethan and Aiden got to the high school, got to Beacon Hills High. They never met. They never met. The only way that the two of them would have ever met is from Danny. Danny was dating Ethan. Danny was Jackson's best friend. I know I said this in a previous review. The only way that Ethan and Jackson ever met was through Danny. So when did they meet? Was it in a little, hey, Jackson, this is my boyfriend, Ethan. Did they FaceTime? FaceTime wasn't a thing back then, was it? I don't even know. I need to know. What happened to Danny? Okay, number one. Number two, what happened to Miss Monroe? If Miss Monroe is now the new HBIC in regards to the hunting empire, right? She's a guidance counselor introduced in this part of this season. Miss Monroe was a guidance counselor, and then she was a counselor at Eichen House. We're in Eichen House a lot for this. Jordan being a hellhound and him having a rival hellhound trying to face off the Inukate. Big plot points of this season. So if we're back in Eichen again, and if the last time we see Miss Morrell is in Eichen, what happened to her? Right? What Miss Morrell? What happened to Danny? What happened to Miss Morrell? Cora and Isaac, we got the send-offs, right? Cora went to South America. Isaac went with Chris to France. Okay, fine. Hayden and her sister moved out of Beacon Hills for their protection. Okay, fine. It's referenced. It's spoken. Fine. So I don't have questions on them. What happened to Danny? What happened to Miss Morrell? Why the hell is Kira still in the desert? That's what I want to know. So when I first watched this part with friends and Malia starts flirting with Scott, I was like, what's going on? I thought he was still with Kira even though she's in the desert with the skinwalkers, learning to control the Firefox kitsune that she is. And then the two of them are making out, and then the two of them are having a hot naked shower scene, and I'm like, what is happening right now? How did Malia get to Scott in all of this? And then at the end of Styles and Lydia cutely holding hands, and Lydia telling Malia to kiss Scott, that way he heals his eyes that he had blinded himself. It was cute. I get it, fine, but it was just thrown on us very quick. I didn't expect that. So why is Kira still in the desert? I think that's it. I think those were my only 3 questions. What happened to Danny? What happened to Miss Morrell? What happened to Kira? That's it. I'm going to say, for a total of 100 episodes, 9 total seasons, that's not that bad. Not that bad. If I only have 3 questions, what happened to Danny? What happened to Miss Morrell? What happened to Kira? That's really not that bad. Compared to everything else, all the stories interconnected. We had the beautiful villains from time to time. Let's try to recap. So season 1 was just Peter Hale being a villain. Season 2 was Hunters and the Kanima. Who's the Kanima? Having Jackson as a Kanima werewolf hybrid is still pretty neat now. Third season, part 1, we had the Durak, Jennifer Blake, as the Dark Druid. Okay, awesome. Season 3, part 2, we have the Alpha Pack along. Well, the Alpha Pack is throughout season 3, but the Nagitsune, Void Styles. Oh, season 3 is the best season out of all 6 of them. Then we have season 4 is La Loba, the Bone Woman, trying to figure out Malia's mom, but also the Were-Jaguar, the She-Wolf, and the Kate Argent as the Were-Jaguar She-Wolf, and the Berserkers. That was a really cool season. Season 5, Part A, Part 1, and Season 5, Part 2 is the same altogether, 20 episodes altogether. We have the Dread Doctors, and we have Theo and his Chimera Pack all together. Pretty cool. Season 6, Part 1, we have the Aftermath of Dread Doctors, the alpha werewolf lion hybrid Nazi force of nature, Mr. Garrett Douglas, trying to control the Ghost Riders, the Ghost Riders of the Hunt, because he was fused with the Ghost Rider stuff. Very cool, right? And then this one now, we have the Inukate fearmonger mixed with the Hunters yet again. So we got Hunters in season 2, and we got Hunters in season 6 part 2, which is really this 9th season. We did it! We recapped everything. We watched all 9 seasons. We talked about it. I have the 3 simple questions. I think that's it. I think we're good to go. I've worn my 2 different jerseys, my Stolinsky jersey, my Danny Mihalani jersey, and my just generic, well, it's not really generic. It actually says McCall on the back. So I've worn my 3 different Beacon Hills lacrosse merch. We've spoken intently about all of the plot points, development, storyline, character development of Peter, Deucalion, Theo. Incredible villain to ally. Love it. Yeah. What happens next? What happens next? If this second part of season 6 with the 3-month time period of after high school, but like everybody's supposed to move on with their life, but they couldn't because of the stuff going on. Does Scott go to college? Does everybody go to college? Does somebody just do something else? What happens, right? What happens? I'm very excited to see what this movie is, because it's going to be a nice continuation. And then if this does really well within critics and, you know, viewing, because it's a Paramount Plus premiere, will there be a sequel? What happens next? It's going to be interesting going from TV show to a movie, but I'm sure we can do it. I'm sure the story will translate. I have faith. Tyler Posey was a producer for majority of the second half of the Teen Wolf franchise. I have faith that he can bring in the fruition, and Jeff, I'm sure, is going to do a great job with the writers. I've seen all their behind the scenes so far with everything they post. Pretty awesome. Yeah, I highly doubt my 3 questions will be answered. What happened to Danny? What happened to Miss Morell? What happened to Kira? But it's okay. It's okay. I will live knowing that there's not a true technical answer until it is actually decided upon and spoken on screen. I will live with that, and that's all I got. What was the last thing Scott said? Let's try to remember it. You're not a monster. You're a werewolf. Like me. Mucho mahalo.